And hello, and welcome to the FDDF Pop-Up Studio. We are so excited for you all to be joining us live. We are here at this beautiful who are here about their work, the things that inspire them, that they're passionate about. And Rula, we are going to start with you. I am told that you are one of the top points earners already on the TechChange platform. I don't know how you've managed to do that while being here in person, but that's incredible. Tell us a bit about who you are and what you're excited about.
Sure. So I'm Rula. I'm the president of a company called EcoDit. We do environmental consulting work, working in the energy, water, environment, and governance sectors, primarily for USAID. And I am a big fan of the TechChange platform and know how to navigate it well. So I think that's a tribute. You can attribute my points to that.
So Rula, I asked folks in the audience where they were on the spectrum of skeptical to enthusiastic about frontier tech. Where do you and maybe EcoDit see yourselves?
Yeah. So we're definitely more of an enthusiast on that spectrum, but I don't know after this, today's sessions if I'll have the same opinion. We definitely see a lot of, trends in our work where technology is really trying, to solve some problems and come up with solutions that we normally wouldn't think of. And so we're seeing that it can help us to better do solid waste management projects, better conserve biodiversity, and for us that's exciting. And whatever tools we can add to our toolbox that makes us do our work better, we're for that. So
people don't often think of innovation in frontier tech related to waste management and WASH, but it sounds like you're doing some of that.
Yeah, I can tell you about a project we have in Lebanon called Dawir, which in Arabic means recycle, but it also means to turn around, the circular economy kind of concept. I came up with that acronym when I worked on that proposal.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and one of the things we're doing is we created a digital marketplace for recyclables. So instead of actually going to a market for people to resell their recyclables, we've created a digital marketplace, and empowered kind of young entrepreneurs and young people to innovate and come up with this great application that we're now using to really, recycle the work that we do. So.
Well, Rula, we're so thrilled to have you. We thank you for your engagement. Check out EcoDit if you haven't already, and I imagine you'll be hopping back on the chat to share some links with us.
Yeah, definitely. And you can ask me questions, and happy to answer them as well. Thank you for the opportunity.
You bet. Okay, let's get our next person to come in and join us. Okay, fantastic. So, Afua. So exciting to have you here. For those that watched, Afua was one of our long conversationalists. You did a great job. What I want to start with is a question, just who you are and what are you most excited about today?
My name is Afua Bruce. I'm the co-author of the book, The Tech That Comes Next. And I am excited to see people in person and hear not just the challenges, but really some good stories about what we're doing well in the area of frontier tech.
The Tech That Comes Next is an amazing book. Very excited about this. Afua, you wrote this book. You spent all this time researching technology and the horizons. Did that leave you net skeptical or net enthusiastic? Where do you land on that spectrum?
I definitely have a healthy dose of skepticism, but I will usually default to optimism. And so I'm really excited about trends to really center communities more, to really rethink how we do funding for responsible tech and frontier tech, and to really put the way communities use and develop technology around their needs at the forefront rather than leading with the technology.
Anything else you're hoping we talk about today that maybe hasn't been mentioned yet in the long conversation or the earlier sessions, things that are on your mind related to frontier tech?
I am really hoping that we have some conversations about what it means to sustain this work, not just in terms of the technology that we deliver and the products that we deliver, which are really important, but also in caring for the people who are doing this work and the people who are affected by this work. What are we doing to take care of ourselves to make sure that those of us who are doing this work can actually do it for years to come?
Well, we thank you for your time, Afua. You are always a star. And if folks want to learn more, I know you've got this book out. How do they buy it? How do they learn more about it?
Absolutely. Go to www.thetechthatcomesnext.com and you can find more there.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate your time and hope you enjoy lunch and the rest of the event.
Thank you.
All right. Let us have our next contestant into the tank. Really a tremendous experience. Oh, we've got Anand here, longtime friend, early days TechChange. Anand, it is so good to have you here and to have DAI on board sponsoring this great event. So Anand, I'm going to start by asking you what you are most excited about with respect to the wonderful world of frontier tech. I know you have some exciting projects you're working on at DAI.
Yeah. Do you want me to hold the mic? Or?
You want to hold
All right. Or maybe. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. You know, one of the things I think we were discussing this earlier. And the kind of topics that we care about is, get too enamored of a particular technology. To that point, one of the things that we've done at DAI is try and release our own research on topics that we think are going to be on the frontiers of this intersection between technology and development sector issues. We have a couple of papers coming up on those topics. One of those topics is around AI transparency. AI transparency, we know, is a major area of sort of concern to lots of folks. What we're trying to develop is a framework, a rights-based framework to help public policy.
That's cool.
Yeah, public policymakers get ahead of those issues, develop policies that can help them identify when human rights violations are likely to happen as they deploy more and more technology, AI technology, in public service delivery. You know, we know that that's exciting, but we also know it poses a lot of risks. So we're working with the Inter-American Development Bank to release a paper with that framework.
And then I know some of your work extends to digital natives. Can you say a bit more about what that work involves and why it's important?
Yeah, digital natives are an interesting category. I think it's a term that you and I, perhaps we have a feel for what that group looks like, or we have an idea of who they are. Or maybe an iPad just hangs around, looking at their smartwatch or whatever it might be. But one of the things we've tried to do, what we're trying to do in this upcoming paper, is sort of maybe have some clearer definitions, especially about what that means in developing country context, because the digital native of a US market is very different from a digital native in India, perhaps. To have some very clear definitions and also get to the heart of what are the issues that they care about, what are their trust issues, and who do they trust, and how are they then going to interact with technology that they're working with.
I mean, that sounds like incredible work, and we're excited to see the research coming out about that. My last question for you is about misinformation, disinformation, but for a unique audience, for folks who run micro and small businesses, the effects of misinformation, disinformation on those communities. Can you say a bit more about that and the work you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are rightly preoccupied by the effects of misinformation and disinformation on our politics, on how governments function, on the legitimacy of political institutions. But there's perhaps an area, again, that is a little bit understudied, which is the economic impacts of misinformation and disinformation. We are doing some research in Kenya, Cambodia, and India, working with MSMEs, with micro, small, and medium enterprises, to understand what's the economic impact of misinformation and disinformation on their businesses, the broader economic impact that this creates. What are they doing as businesses to remain resilient? This is work we're doing with the Atlantic Council. So this is, again, emerging tech issues at the intersection of the communities that we care about and are working with.
Well, Anand, we thank you so much for your time. We encourage folks to check out the Center for Digital Acceleration that DAI runs. Anand is also a musician, an incredibly talented guitarist. You can check out his work too online. But Anand, we thank you for your time today, friend. All right, take care. All right, do we have somebody who is next? Tyler, coming up. I don't have a hand to shake, but hey, we can. All right, well, Tyler, so excited to have you here at FDDF. Big fan of your work at HOT, OpenStreetMap Humanitarian Team. Do you want to talk a little bit about HOT and the things that you do and what you're most excited about?
Sure. Yeah. Happy to be here, Nick. Thanks for having me. And it's amazing to be here and just connecting with everybody face to face again. So for those of you who don't know about HOT, we're essentially this global network of people who care about data for good in the places they live. And a couple of years ago, we started working on this project, which is called the Audacious Project. And it's a plan to mobilize 1 million people around the world in 94 countries to map the places they live and contribute that data as part of the global OpenStreetMap database.
Yeah. I'm a huge OpenStreetMap fan and have designed exercises in my courses around OSM. But what you do with HOT is really transformative. Are there any current deployments that you're working on as we speak that people should know about? And how does somebody get involved with your work?
We are currently activated for 11 events around the world. So you can go online and see those if you just go to HOTOSM, HOTOSM.org. You can see all those deployments, those activations, and see where data is needed. But one of the things that we're really interested in is how can we actually get more involved pre-crisis and anticipate a disaster. And that's a big part of our work nowadays, is actually figuring out how we can work with communities to support them to take action against challenges locally, even before those big headline news events take place.
And I know, because I spent a lot of time on LinkedIn, that y'all are hiring for some positions at HOT as well. Anything to say there in case we have some folks watching who might be like, hey, yeah, I want to work with these guys?
And so we just started piloting this last month. And so all of our jobs are fully remote, and they all come with a 4-day work week. So check us out.
I love that. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for stopping by the booth and chatting with us. Big fan of your work, and hope folks have a chance to check it out online and enjoy the rest of the conference. All right.
Amazing. Thanks, Nick. Take care.
All right. Okay, Sarah, come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are live with our virtual audience. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself and say hi to the virtual folks?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Orton-Vipond. I'm the Director of Engagement and Partnerships with the Development Gateway.
Okay. Sarah, I'm going to ask you, what are some emerging tech trends that you're noticing, that you're excited about with respect to frontier tech or emerging tech?
Yeah. So am I looking at you? I would rather look at you.
Look at me.
Okay, cool.
Wonderful friends at home. Whatever makes you comfortable.
Thank you. So I think, we hear the same thing over and over. There's a new product. There's tech coming up. I'm hearing a lot of emerging topics happening.
Yeah.
I'm still really interested in the idea of data or of user-centered design,
Yeah.
which is not emerging. However, but let's talk about user-enabled development, digital development, user-enabled. What does it mean when we're actually not just thinking about how people are interfacing with our products, but instead how our products are actually helping people, how we need people to use our products or to do things differently. So what I'm talking about is we know AI cannot work on its own right now. We know.
Yeah.
Despite what you might...
Self-driving
No.
cars aren't here yet.
But despite what you might hear in some of the conversations happening, we don't have all the answers with AI yet, with any technology yet. So how are we designing people in from the onset? Not just to replace us in what we're doing, but instead, if we're going to talk about a digital first experience or digital, US Mark from USAID was talking about what does kind of native digital look like? What does that mean? Let's talk about the people. Let's talk about people from the onset. So not just how are they experiencing our products, but how are we building from the beginning?
Well, that's so exciting. And folks, I'm going to have your colleague Josh come up here in a sec, but anything else you want to share with folks? How do people find out more about Development Gateway?
Check us out on Twitter, obviously. Everyone else, Josh and myself are also on there. We're healthy skeptics, pragmatists. Yeah, thanks.
Healthy skeptics. All right, with that, I'm going to invite Josh to come on. And Josh, so great to have you here. Do you want to say hi to the virtual audience and just introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Josh Powell. I'm the CEO of Development Gateway and IREX Venture.
Big fan of Development Gateway. So, Josh, I'm going to ask you, what are you not hearing at FDDF yet thus far, and what should we be talking about?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'm not hearing a lot about governments. I'm not hearing a lot about the role of the public sector, whether it's regulation, whether it's kind of protection, either in a positive sense of how can government really be driving digital transformation and frontier technology, or in a sense of what are kind of the threat models that the private sector has to be aware of as governments across different regions, different countries are adopting new legislation and regulation.
And do you have government partnerships at Development Gateway, groups inside ministries who are fighting the good fight, working hard on these topics that you want to point to as part of that comment?
Yeah, absolutely. We're working with governments really around the globe, but particularly in the East and West Africa on agriculture and ministries of agriculture, on health, working on tobacco control data, combating misinformation from the tobacco industry and so forth, all around how do governments use technology and data more effectively to deliver services that improve lives.
Well, so excited to have you here today and experiencing FDDF with you. I hope you take some of that ethic you just shared into more of the conversations, both in person and online. And we hope you get some great lunch because it looks like people are queuing up. So thanks so much, Josh. We appreciate it. All right. Awesome. Okay, we are ready for our next. All right, step on up, Chris. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I don't have any hands here to shake, but Chris, you are joining us from Premise Data. We are live with our virtual audience. Do you want to just say hi and say kind of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us virtually. Sorry you can't be in this like really beautiful space, honestly. It's been really impressive. My name's Chris Watson. I run the International Development and Humanitarian Assistance Division at Premise Data, which is a crowdsourcing platform that's trying to disrupt how field data collection is typically done.
All right, Chris, so I've been asking folks what they're most excited about with their work. You have been a busy person this year. You've had some Ukraine projects. You've had really an incredible amount of interest in your technology. Do you want to pick a few examples or highlights to share with us?
Yeah, I think, for me and for Premise's International Development Team, the story of this year has really been scale. I think like a lot of folks probably in this room, we all, sort of started out getting money through some sort of like innovation challenge that was meant to try new things. A lot of the people that fund that's here. We've really kind of made it out of that stage and into the like, we have to find a way to work with the bread and butter, international development efforts around the world. So we're at 29 different organizations within international development using us right now. And this year, a big part of that has been growth within the UN, especially UNICEF and the WHO. And I think that's important because they do so much more like direct embedding of staff within a Ministry of Health, a Ministry of Education. And so that's really given us the ability to partner more directly with governments in low and middle income countries.
I'm sure that was not easy, brokering those partnerships, trying to kind of, a big theme from this morning was how do you get some of these very emerging technologies to de-risk? How do you kind of make the decision maker feel good about those decisions? But you seem to have done that, which is really great. Any advice or wisdom from how those partnerships have worked and evolved that you might want to share with us?
I do. I don't know if it's the sexiest thing ever, but to be honest, like for us, business model has been the key to unlocking this. So we tried to craft, our offering at a low enough level to where we could partner with individual project teams and they could still afford it and then do free trials for them. So that kind of has like de-risked some of this and that they could try it out and see if they liked it. And then they wouldn't have to go up to a super senior chief of whatever at a headquarters team to be able to do it. Project teams could make that decision on their own. And so our kind of like playbook has been to get 3, 4, 5 different projects at an organization and then start to talk about a bigger partnership. And that way you've got a lot of like internal champions that are comfortable with it and that are actually using it instead of trying to go straight to the top for the big thing all at once.
Well, Chris, we thank you for being here. We thank Premise for helping to sponsor this year at the Gold Level, and we hope you have a great rest of your event, both in person and online, and get a chance to get in this lunch line over here. So thanks, friend. We appreciate it. All right. Okay, friends. We are. Why don't we interview? This is an unscripted interview, father and son. Come on over. Okay. All right, Dad. What do you think so far? First, you should say who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm Nick's dad. I'm Bill Martin. I was Chief of Staff of the National Security Council and President of the University of Peace for the United Nations.
Those are big jobs. So what do you think so far? What are your impressions from FDDF?
Well, it's impressive to be here, first of all. The dynamism of the place, the lunch was excellent. People are talking, they're getting together. After being in so many virtual conferences recently, it's great to see people interacting.
That's great. Any themes or topics emerge from that first session that you heard? The long conversation with the USAID guys and the Chemonics and other folks who were sharing on stage. Anything pop out in terms of themes or interesting topics or ideas?
Well, these are people in the field. I mean, they're dealing with local communities. And one of them said we have 800 million people that are worse off because of COVID. I cannot imagine how many worse people are worse off because of the Ukraine and the food and the energy prices. And, I raised you and I said the number one issue in our world today is economic development. Because if we can't make 1 billion people happy, we're in trouble in the OECD countries.
I was just seeing that Limits to Growth, one of the books you worked on back in the 70s, starting to surface again in a lot of global conversations around sustainability. Pretty incredible to have that 50-year journey. Was that 1972 that was written?
1972, an MIT team put out Limits to Growth. It was 26 million copies at the time, which shows you even in 1972 there was interest in economic development and the perils that came with economic development. So today we see many of the prophecies of limits to growth coming true. It was only a 100 equation model. It wasn't very fancy, but I think the job is not done.
Indeed it isn't. So we're trying to figure this out. We've got a great community here today of smart people thinking about these topics, and we're hoping both online and in person to make some small progress. But we thank you, Dad, for coming by.
One last thing, I want to tell Nick is going to change because of the iPhone. By the way, I bought him his first iPhone. He said because we have to use the iPhone for development and reach communities that otherwise couldn't be.
That's right. Mobile phones.
He told me more people had iPhones than electricity, and charging stations were emerging all over Africa. So anyway, son, very proud of you, very proud of what you're doing, because this is going to change the world.
All right. Well, thank you, Dad, for coming by. We appreciate you. And I think we've got one more. Okay, fantastic. We've got one more here. Erica, hi. How are you? So glad. Erica's one of the first people I called when I had this crazy idea to put on FDDF. Erica, do you want to just start by saying who you are and what you're up to?
Yeah. Do I hold it or just? Oh, okay. Do you want me to hold it? Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Erica Troncoso. I'm a technical advisor at Japigo, and I sit on the innovations team, and I lead the Frontier Technology Solutions portfolio. So very excited to be here. This is right up our alley.
So, Erica, I'm going to ask you, you have a job at Japigo that looks at the intersection of frontier tech and global health. What are some of those innovations you're most excited about today?
Well, we are really looking at how we can use frontier technology to improve health outcomes. So how can we really change the end user's life in terms of improving their health and overall life and quality of life? And we really feel like frontier tech has a good place in that and can do that. But how can we also start to de-risk some of the frontier stuff so that when it gets to that end user, that it's it's improving their life and not harming it in other ways that weren't expected.
I mean, it's pretty amazing because you do work with Wendy, who's joined us on stage for the long conversation. It must be good, though, to have a boss, at that level who's trying to create space to de-risk and to have some of these frontier tech opportunities. Are there any kind of specific ones? I know we've talked about a few over the years that you're excited about, or ones that you want to sort of revive that may have fallen by the wayside during COVID?
Yeah, so one we're working on right now is using artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is becoming more mainstream nowadays, to identify people at risk of having an interruption in treatment, in their HIV treatment. And so our theory is, or our hypothesis is, if we can identify people at risk, we can prevent it from even happening. And this can really change service delivery and the way that healthcare is delivered by health workers, because it can give them an opportunity to expand their interventions that they have available to them. So if someone's coming in and saying, looking like a high risk, like if I have a really high risk of dropping out of care, that this healthcare provider can say, actually, here are some different strategies that I know might work for you specifically to keep you in treatment before it even happens. Yeah, it's really exciting. Yeah. And then secondly is the VR virtual reality work. I know it dropped off a little during COVID, only because a lot of the funding went straight into COVID itself. But we're really excited to have this new partnership with Proximie, where surgeons are being able to access live surgeries through this new technology and provide support to live surgeries as they're happening. So really excited.
And they're here today, so we're going to at some point go around and bring you all to that booth and learn a bit more about Proximie, but you can also check them out online. And Erica, how do we follow your amazing work? Japigo, are you publishing some cool stuff that we should be looking at?
Yes, we have more to come in the Innovations Hub. We're starting to use the hashtag Japigo Accelerate. So on LinkedIn, you could follow that hashtag. And there'll be newsletters and other publications coming out shortly.
All right, Erica. Well, we thank you so much for taking the time to come chat with us. And we hope you have a great rest of the conference, okay? All right, awesome. Okay, Take care. Okay, I think that's it. Do we have any questions from the audience? No. Thomas, did you want to read anything? You want to come on? All right, friends, we want to hear from you all. So, Thomas, what are we hearing online? It sounds like there was a lot of chatter in the chat, in large part thanks to our incredible ambassadors who are joining us from all over the world. We thank you for hosting your own events and tuning in. But Thomas, what are some of the things you're hearing?
There's a lot today. So something that was really highlighted was one of the things that the USA WSS administrator said, saying that the virtual world is now part of the real world. And
that stuck to me too, yeah, for sure.
I think that's something really interesting. And he also said it's like the frontiers for digital disruption, I believe. And
wanted to change the name of the conference.
Exactly. Though this is only the first conference. So this is, I think, some of the highlights, some of the buzz. And other buzzes included the AI feminist session, and also people talking about how ethics should be part of Frontiers technology conversations. And that was kind of side conversation that different participants had just on the virtual platform based out of what conversations taking place here at Capital Turnaround.
And we've had a couple virtual only sessions, right, on the platform. Any want to highlight any of those? It sounds like we had some great conversations around gender and AI, feminist AI. Anything else that stuck out to you? Oh, this is a beautiful graphic.
This is the mural board that was created.
Yeah.
Ivana's,
oh my gosh.
Online session.
Look at these beautiful hybrid artifacts. We call these digital artifacts in the Tech Change lexicon. So it's okay. It's all right. You're good. It's confusing. I agree. I know. They should. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. Before we wrap, anything else, Thomas, you want to share with folks or that you're hearing online?
Sure. Something that's really exciting is that there's actually 5 watch parties taking place today, tomorrow, and this Saturday in Lagos and Nairobi and Islamabad, Dar es Salaam, and also in Amman, Jordan. So if you're out there in one of these countries and one of these locations, please feel free to check the wireframe of the Tech Change platform and contact our ambassadors to join the watch party.
All right. Well, thank you, Thomas, and thank you to all of you for tuning in. What a great initial pop-up studio session. Hope you enjoyed some of the interviews we had. And tune in again in T-minus how long? Another hour or so. We're going to do another one of these. And we're going to have some comedic flair for these next 2 sessions. So thank you all, and looking forward to hearing your reactions and responses online. Nick, tuning out.